Yeah. Hi, everyone. William, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
How you been?
Been good. It's been good, yes. How about you?
So your daughter enjoy the children?
She really liked the first couple days. And then the next time she logged on, there was a problem with the microphone or the tutor. And so that didn't go so well. And then by that next time, she wasn't as into doing it. So I'm gonna try to encourage her to get on again. She really liked working with Lily.
Oh yeah.
Lily did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And Miss Thân Như, we have online after school program for the children. Can you hear me, Miss Thân Như?
Oh, yeah. Yes, hey, I can hear you.
Yeah, we have online after school program Monday to Thursday. Yeah, and up to now we have more than 40 students to sign up, and they can sign up in anywhere, whether it's California or New York. They can log in to have online tutorials.
And what subjects are covered?
For K8, from first grade to 8th grade, the tutor can teach math, English, or science. But for high school, we focus on math. We focus on algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, trigonometry, pre-calculus. So most of the time we have volunteer tutors from college. And I don't know if your son would like to join as a tutor to help these children so that they can have an interaction with them.
Yes. Actually, he is waiting to see if he can take a calculus class.
Oh,
so yes. So
okay, I see.
I have to see if he may need help with that. But that's what I wanted to ask, if that was at all possible, because if he's successful, then he would have to take it at a college, city college, and I have to see if he can manage that or not.
Oh, okay. So you say you look for a tutor can help him in calculus?
No, not necessarily yet, because he's waitlisting. So I don't know if he's going to be able to get a clearance to take the class or not. They put him in AP statistics, but he would like to take calculus instead. So that means he has to go through trying to get it approved at a city college. And if that's the case, I don't know, just in case he's able to do it or not.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so let us resume our discussion today. Yeah, let me go back to the sutra. Yeah, by the way, we record our section, and whenever we finish, I send the link to Thầy Giáo Pháp, and he posts on our group meetings on our website. So can you be able to see those links, Miss Thân Như?
Yes, I believe so. I haven't tried. I tried to get on, and I was able to. I did receive the email notification. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Thân Thiện. Can you read, please?
I think we read this part before.
This part?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, sorry, I marked wrong. Okay, so we You go to the next page or this part? Oh, probably this next page. Oh yeah, the next page. Sorry. Okay. Oh, sorry, that's right. That's a market. Sorry. Is it okay? Go ahead, Thang Thieng. Probably this one. Yeah, I mark this one. Go ahead.
The Buddhas are future ages, although they preach hundreds, thousands, millions, countless numbers of doctrines. In truth, do so for the sake of the single vehicle. The Buddha's most honor of the two-legged beings know that phenomena have no constantly fixed nature, that the seed of the Buddhahood sprouts through casualtation, and for this reason, they preach the single vehicle. But for these phenomena are part of an abiding law that the characteristic of the world are constantly abiding. This they have come to know in the place of practice, and as leaders and teachers, they preach expedient means. The presently existing Buddha of the 10 directions, whom heavenly and human beings make offerings to, who in number are like Ganges sand. They have preached in the world in order to bring peace and comfort to living beings, and they too preach the law in this way. They understand the foremost truth are tranquil, extension, and therefore employ the power of expedient means. And though they point out the various different paths in the truth, they do so for the sake of the Buddha vehicle. So what this is saying that the future Buddha, they will preach many number of doctrines for the sake of all living beings. So they only do this to show them the single vehicle, which is the Buddha vehicle. They do this is to show them the way that they can be out of the birth of cycle and death. They appear in this world to bring peace and comfort to all living beings. So they show them a different way so that they can follow his way to bring happiness and peace to themselves as well as to the other people, to the other living beings.
Yeah, thank you. So, like last time we discussed, as a parents, as a teacher, sometimes we like to teach our children or students some important things, but depend upon their knowledge and depend upon the situation, we may or may not teach them directly. We may use some experience means to guide them first before we show them some most important things that we want to share. So do the Buddha. Yeah, the Buddha in the past, they have one vehicle, has been the Buddhahood, but because of the differences among sentient beings, wisdom and blessings, so that's why they are flexible to teach them. But actually, they just want to teach only one vehicle. All right, so Miss Tammy, can you read, please? Yeah.
They understand the actions of living beings, the thoughts that lie deep in their minds, the deeds they have carried out in the past, their desires, their nature, the power of their exertions, and whether their capacities are acute or dull. And so they employ various causes and conditions, similes, parables, and other words and phrases, adapting what expedient means are suitable to their preaching. Now I too am like this. In order to bring peace and comfort to living beings, I employ various different doctrines to disassimilate the Buddha way. Through the power of my wisdom, I know the nature and desires of living beings, and through expedient means I preach these doctrines, causing all living beings to attain joy and gladness. So this is just explaining that by understanding beings and people as they are, then choosing the right ways to teach, present information to them where they can comprehend it and become happy.
Thank you. It's just straightforward. Yeah, Mr. Thang Yu, please.
Shariputra, you should understand that I view things through the Buddha eye. I see the living beings in the six paths, how poor and distressed they are without merit or wisdom, how they enter the perilous road of birth and death, their sufferings continuing with never a break, how deeply they are attached to the five desires, like a yak enamored of its tail, blinding themselves with greed and infatuation. Their vision so impaired they can see nothing. They do not seek the Buddha with his great might, or the law that can end their sufferings, but enter deeply into erroneous views, hoping to shed suffering through great sufferings. For the sake of these living beings, I summon up a mind of great compassion. So the Buddha is saying to Shariputra that he sees how the sentient beings are, how they are attached to their ignorance and their ego, and the attachment is causing them the suffering that is very innate for the living beings, and that there is, and if left up to the sentient beings, there is no way to get out of the suffering that with humankind or with people, they are trying to escape their suffering by causing more suffering. So for the sake of the sentient beings, the Buddha is calling up the bodhisattvas to help the sentient beings by conjuring up compassion to help them escape the suffering that is in their lives. And by doing so with compassion, what he's saying is he is using the skillful means to be able to connect with the people, to teach them, to guide them out of their path of suffering and following the Buddha way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's why in Buddhism, compassion is so important. And but like Wangan Bodhisattva, he or she used compassion together with patience to teach us. Without compassion and patience, it's not easy for them to teach. Like the parents, if they love their children but they don't have much patience, it's not easy. And it's so important. By the way, I forgot to make an announcement that we will have a parent appreciation date next Sunday on September the 6th. we do online. So like last time we did the Buddha birthday celebration online because of the COVID-19, and now this time, yeah, we do the second times. Probably some local people come, but we don't expect too many of them. But mainly we do the uh, Parents Appreciation Day online. So it's been for a while, like Miss Thân Như, right? For you and your children to come and participate in the Buddha birthday celebration and Parent Appreciation Day, right?
Yes, Tay. The last time, I believe the last time we came for the Buddha's birthday, or it was in California,
Yeah.
when Tay Pháp was at his house.
Yeah.
And that was when he made the announcement that he was to join your monastery.
Yeah. So it's just a couple of years already, right?
Yes, I believe so. It's been a couple of years, but even so, it went so fast.
Yeah. 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 So you would not bring your daughter here, right, William? What do you think?
Well, I can't make any decisions by myself. So,
Okay.
yeah, Lisa, even if I said yes and Lisa said no, then the answer would be no. So
Okay. No, I mean, it's not important. You can log in.
yeah, we'll definitely log in, and I'll test the waters with Lisa about us going over to Kentucky.
All right, thank you. Yeah, all right, let's just go back to our reading then. Yeah, I'm sorry, interrupt, because I want to mention first in case I forget. All right, so yeah, go ahead, please, William.
When I first sat in a place of practice and gazed at the tree and walked around it for the space of 3 times 7 days, I pondered the matter in this way. The wisdom I have attained, I thought, is subtle, wonderful, the foremost. But living beings, dull in capacity, are addicted to pleasure and blinded by stupidity. With persons such as this, what can I say? How can I save them? At that time, the Brahma kings, along with the heavenly king Shakra, the 4 heavenly kings who guard the world, and the heavenly king, Great Freedom, in company with the other heavenly beings and their hundreds and thousands of followers, reverently pressed their palms together and bowed, begging me to turn the wheel of the law. Immediately I thought to myself that if I merely praised the Buddha vehicle, then the living beings sunk in their suffering would be incapable of believing in this law. And because they rejected the law and failed to believe in it, they would fall into the 3 evil paths. So here the Buddha is sharing the difficulty of preaching the foremost law. So when the Buddha realized enlightenment, complete and total enlightenment, it wasn't the first step. It was the culmination of a lot of work. So to expect someone to be able to understand that would be too much. And the Buddha in his wisdom saw that and wanted to avoid hurting anyone by preaching something that they couldn't understand. And so that was the first thing that passed his mind when the heavenly beings asked him to preach the way. And the reason people have trouble listening to the law, understanding it, is just because of these different addictions to pleasure, or because of stupidity and past karma that's made capacities dull. So yeah, and then I think Tikang Dot yourself and Tikyao Phap shared that the reason the Buddha thought in this manner was that it was actually, there was a function of thinking in that manner, that it was to get the attention of the gods so that they would assist in this process of expedient means, of helping bring people along to the point where they could eventually hear the Buddha vehicle.
Yeah, thank you. So let's say, well, if the Buddha first taught that everyone can attain enlightenment, everyone can become Buddha without teaching any kind of, let's say, five precepts, the Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Paths, Fulfilling Conditions, and some basic principle. What do you think?
Well, I think it wouldn't have worked. One reason would be, well, the Buddha hadn't really demonstrated his wisdom yet. And so if he simply showed up and said, this is how it is, at that point, maybe he wouldn't have had enough credit with all of his followers. But then also the whole concept of enlightenment, like they wouldn't have any notion of like a right notion of enlightenment, because there would still be so much confusion in their minds. And yeah, I think the precepts are very important because, if someone was just like, hey, the Buddha said that I will become a Buddha, so I'll just do whatever I want and eventually I'll become a Buddha. So yeah, I think it is crucial to do that.
Yeah, that's why later on when Buddhism spread to China and Japan, we have the Zen tradition, and like I told you some story, that some Zen master get remind their student the Buddha nature that's within themselves directly, instead of explaining all kind of theories and practice or principle. Even they went beyond the common notion. Remember the story that the monk who burned the Buddha's wooden statue. Remember that? And of course, for common people, this is no way, especially for the average Buddhist people, there's no way for them to accept that. So, but still, only a portion of population could understand their approach, and the rest they could not. They could not accept that. So this is not a story too. I like to tell you. In one monastery, somehow there's two sections of the monastery. Let's say section A and section B. Somehow a cat run back and forth between these two places, and so those monks of those places, they try to fight, or they try to get the cat. And what happened then? So when the master came back and he saw somehow the monk, instead of spend their time for meditation or chanting and so forth, somehow they fight for a cat. What happened then? So he hold a cat with the knife. And he said, well, if you can say something enlightenment, something that can enlighten people, I would let this cat go. Otherwise, I have to chop off this cat in half. And guess what? No one. And because he's master, he needs to chop off. Let's go beyond the average Buddhist thinking, right? It's so cool, right? But later on, one of his close disciples came back from the field, and somehow he asked the same question. What happened then? That close disciple took his shoe and put on the top of his head. And that at that moment, that master said, well, if you were here, you would rescue the cat already. You understand what I'm talking about? What I try to talk about? You have any clue?
I just remember the story. I think it's Joshu, right? The guy who put the shoe on his head is Joshu.
Yeah, we don't remember the name, but what do you think? What do you think then?
Something, if you could say something that would enlighten people.
But they
It would be like trying to say something that could enlighten people would be like as meaningful as putting a shoe on your head, because you can't really speak of enlightenment, the true nature is beyond words. You might as well just put a shoe on your head.
yeah, let's go back to the story. As Buddhist monk, they're not supposed to kill any kind of animals, right? But somehow he's the master in charge of that monastery. But somehow he chopped off the cat. Is that cruel, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems cruel and against the precepts, but perhaps there's a deeper law here in the sense of using it to teach these monks that maybe there is some benefit that he saw clearly. But yeah, it does seem cruel.
Yeah. What do you think, Miss Thân Như? What do you think? Have you heard about this story before?
No, Tay, I haven't heard of this story, but it brings to mind the story of King Solomon, who, and that's in the Bible, that two mothers were fighting over a baby, and King Solomon said, "One of you is the real mother," because they both claimed to be the mother of the baby, and he said, "Okay, then one of if not neither one of you would, I will cut this baby in half." And then the real mother said, no, don't do that. The other lady can have the baby. And so that's how he deemed that person is the real mother. And I know that's not the point to it, but that's the story that conjured up in my mind. And the only thing that I can say about this is the ridiculousness of the situation. And that's why that other monk put the shoe up on his head, is because the situation is so ridiculous to be fighting over, whose side the cat should belong to, that there is no sense in it. And yes, it is against the human, and violate one of the precepts, to not kill. And I don't know how far the skillful means, to which extent can you rely on saying I'm using a skillful mean to teach the bigger picture, to provide a more meaningful lesson to an assembly of monks, to justify the killing of the cat. I don't know, but it just the most important thing that stands out to me, ridiculous that they did, and got so distracted in their daily schedule and their daily practice, and allowing their greed and their attachment and their ego to fight over this cat. And as a result of their fussiness or their silliness or their attachment to all that ignorance, it resulted in getting nowhere. They did not have anything significant to contribute, and all it led to was the death of this poor cat.
So it's very hard for you to understand this kind of story, right, Miss Tammy? It's hard, right?
Well, I had heard the story several times that she just spoke of. I didn't remember who it was and the details and stuff, but I remember them threatening to cut a child or a baby in half, and then the true mother or person was just like, okay, no, that's fine, they can have it. I remember that story clearly, but no, actually killing the child or the animal, no, that's hard to understand.
Okay. Thân Thiền, you understand this story?
I quite understand it. I think
why the master chop up the cat then? He's so cruel. He didn't have any compassion. What do you think?
I don't know why he do that. I think it's against the precept. I think it's I think you should do a different way to show them how to become enlightenment. This is not the way to do it.
Jenny, you understand the story?
I've never heard of the story, but yes, I completely understand what you're saying. I completely understand the message.
So if you were the master, would you chop up the cat or what? What do you think?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
If you were the master and you saw that your student were fighting for a cat instead of doing meditation or chanting, what should you do with the cat then?
I didn't really understand. I didn't really heard the story, but I heard Kwon Kim talk about her experience, and I completely understand, you know, how what she was talking about about the babies, and you know, just trying to have something, you know, that just doesn't make sense. And I think that when you're trying to send a message to someone, and if they're just completely numb or dull in their minds, it doesn't matter how enlightening the message is or anything, you just can't get through to anybody. You know, I think that just like what in this story, you know, how the Buddha is trying to teach, but then he understands that there's people that are just, you know, stupid and their minds are closed. And like, it just doesn't matter how, you know, how if there's any wisdom or just anything in the story that you're trying to teach them, they're just not going to learn anything. I think that it just has to come from within. Everything has to come from within. If you're a person that has an open mind about changing yourself, it's going to be a lot easier. So when you're trying to impose something on someone, it's not going to work. That's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, take your part, please.
Yeah, no problem. I think it's if the disciple fight over something for the cat, that means those people is not ready for the when we're talking about the enlightened one, that means beyond the verbal, beyond what. This is where we call the absolute truth. Absolute truth, nothing can describe. So when we ask those people try to tell something about absolute truth, how could they be able to tell, right? So and the monk using the cat did the gamble, the lie of the cat. That is too much. Well, they can use different methods, but it doesn't have to be those things. Doesn't matter who you are. The law of cause and effect will be there. And the Bodhisattva, whenever they make the decision, they will accept the result. Doesn't matter who they are. And that means they're willing to be paid for that. Yeah, move on.
Thank you. So yeah, go back to you, William. If you were the master, would you do that? Because your student, they fought for the cat. They put that focus their mind on studying meditation. What should you do then?
Well, I got to assume that this master had some sort of deep insight into how his actions would affect these monks, and that he had to see that there was some balance in the trade. I personally, where I'm at now, I don't feel that degree of confidence. Like I don't feel like I would be able to discern and judge a situation so clearly to know that it would be okay, it would be beneficial to violate the precept in that way in order to then cause some sort of development. Because I would think it would cause doubt in the students. Like if I was one of the students, it would certainly cross my mind like, hey, this guy's not a good guy. He's not following the precepts. I'm going to leave and I'm going to go find someone different to learn from. So I would think as the master there would be just patience, unless it wasn't an issue of anger, it wasn't an issue of patience, it was some sort of deep insight that he saw there was an opportunity to help these people in a great way, and that the consequences for the cat and its reincarnation wouldn't be significant. But yeah, so where I stand, no, I don't think I would kill the cat.
Yes, it's not easy. That's why I want to bring up this story so that you see some Zen master only use the wisdom to judge the situation so that they could teach their student appropriately. Otherwise, like common people or average Buddhists could not accept that kind of act. Like you say, only when you are in that kind of situation you would know whether it is appropriate or not. And yeah, depend upon the degree of the enlightenment of that master, he would recognize why they did that. And one reason why when his close student uh, put his shoe on his head to demonstrate that um, there's there's no there's no need to attach two things, because the head is the highest place in the body, and the shoe is the lowest or the lowest place on the route. So when you put the highest and the lowest together, that is the principle of go beyond attachment of things, including the cat. That's why the master say, if you were here, you would have set the cat already. So again, the master didn't have intention to harm or to kill the cat, but somehow because his student fought for the cat, that's why he uses experience mean to demonstrate that instead of attaching to the cat, they need to go back and do the practice. So well, that's why when his close disciple demonstrate the things that go beyond the most lofty one and the most dirty one, that means the head and the shoe, the union of the highest place in the body and the lower place on the ground. That's demonstrate the detachment idea, instead of attaching something that they love to have. So again, the reason why I brought up this story, because like we just read this parsha. So if the Buddha just mentioned about the Buddhahood directly after he attained enlightenment, not many people could be receptive, could be could understand what he's trying to talk, what he's trying to teach. That's why after he accept the request of those heavenly kings, he used as means to teach us step by step, instead of teaching in the direct way, like those Zen masters. And it requires a lot of patience too, and it requires a lot of compassion. Okay. So that's why if you understand the mindset of the Zen master, you would enjoy reading those kind of Zen story. Otherwise, it's feel weird, right? It's feel weird to read those type of story. It sometimes maybe go beyond the thinking of average Buddhist people, like this kind of master, the one who split the cat in half, or the one that burned the Buddha statue, and many weird story. But still, it's only for the enlightened master could do that. For the average one, there's no way. They have to um, uh, be the consequences later on if they're not enlightened yet. But for them, they willing to do so because they know the consequence. They know exactly what they try to do, exactly what they try to help their students. Uh, so yeah, one more thing before we move on. So Lin Chi is one of the famous Zen master. You know him, William Lin Chi? You heard about this name? No.
No.
Yeah. So he is famous in the way that whenever his students ask him about how to do meditation, or what's the meaning of Buddhism, or what's the meaning of Zen, he just shout or hit them. That's all. Most of times, he would not teach much. Yes, sometimes he would come to the stage and uh, give the lecture, but most of the time, when someone came to him and asked for the teaching, he either shout, yell, or hit them with the stick. That's so strange, but that's his techniques of teaching. So
What I have a question about that.
yeah,
What I have heard of that. What does that do? Like when the master hits the student, like what is the purpose of that? What is the student supposed to learn from that?
okay, that is a question. That's why many people, especially average people or Buddhist people, would not accept that, right? So, what do you think, Thân Thiện? If let's say if you approach to some Zen master, the only thing they may teach you is yelling at you or giving you a stick. What do you think?
Um, the way that Zen Master do is to help you stay focused in your on your study and meditation. He only do it this way because he care about you. He want you to succeed and becoming in enlightenment. I think that's the way he cares about you.
Yeah.
Is that to get rid of the ego, to help you get rid of the ego?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So there's many ways that they taught their students. So William, you have any idea why did they yell or give them the stick whenever they?
I had something similar to that happen to me. In Japanese and Zen, I think they call it dokusan when you meet with the Zen master one-on-one. And the first time I met with the Zen master from the Rochester Zen Center, his name's Sensei Bodenkohl, Oroshi Bodenkohl now. He leaned over and he grabbed my knees and he kind of shook me. We were sitting in like, I think I was in like half Lotus or something. And he like shook me and said fairly loudly, "This isn't Zen." And I think the sense I get from it is that like it's beyond conceptualization. Like we always want something to hold on to. We want an answer to the question, but the answer is not really the solution. If we actually like the best questions, they take us to the limit of our ability to answer them. They take us to the limit of duality. And they really bring us into, I would say, like, into that state where there's not even a present moment anymore. There's not a future or past. And because there's no future or past, then it's like we wouldn't even speak about a present moment. So the same sort of like mind state, when someone yells or something happens quickly, we let go of all thinking and we're simply there. Like we simply respond. And so that's the sense I get. It's like it's giving the person a taste of really being present there.
Yeah, there's a lot of story about this. And Master, actually, when I was young, I love to read those story. And only when you have some insight into those story, it would be delightful. Otherwise, somehow it's so weird. Okay, let me tell you one more story before we come back. Somehow it's a lot of story. So there's one student approached to the master and asked, "What's the meaning of Buddhism then?" So the master turned around and asked him, "What's the price of a um, uh, kilograms of rice?" You understand that? So instead of respond to the student about the question that the student want to hear, right? What's the meaning of Buddhism? So the master I get asked, what's the price of 1 kilogram of rice in the market? Is anything make sense? Anything make sense?
Maybe a little bit. I would think of, because the idea of it could be a comment on the nature of the question, perhaps is too narrow, in the sense of to teach about the meaning of Buddhism is, I mean, it's not, it's, I guess, beyond being broad or narrow. But it would be like saying it sounds like the person wanted an answer like, $5 a pound. The meaning of Buddhism is, boom, this is your answer. But the answer wouldn't necessarily help that person. So, but giving that sort of answer, it would actually make the person stop and like be reflective and consider, like, what does this mean? So it might actually initiate some sort of investigation.
This time you understand this type of response from the master? You understand why he respond that? And even sometimes they say, have you finished? Have you eaten your lunch yet? And it's similar way.
Well, I don't know. I can only, from trying to conceptualize it, or maybe concept is the wrong word to use here, because it just seems like the natural concept is something that should not be ventured in here. My sense to it is just like the question is, what is Buddhism? What is the meaning of Buddhism? And perhaps the meaning of Buddhism means different things to different people at different stages in their development. Just like the Buddha says, each person, just like, in that chapter, herbs in the Lotus Sutra, and it says that the Buddha can recognize the potential in each person, and each person's Dharma development is similar to a small plant. You process it is reliant upon at whatever stage you can take in at that time, your capacity, your potential at that time. So to ask how much is a kilogram of rice, the way I see it is, how much is that rice worth to that person? If that person is starving, that rice he can give, or let's say the person has a child who is starving, he can sell the clothes off his back to purchase whatever is demanded of him for a bowl of rice. If somebody who is completely full, that rice means nothing to him, so he is not going to detach himself from his assets to buy something that is not needed for him. It's not essential for him. So I think my understanding of that is it is however you are able to take it at whichever time in your lifespan, in whatever development that you have at that you are, whichever stage in development you are at that moment in time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, let me sum up. One reason why those masters respond to that way, because for them to answer what's the meaning of Buddhism is not much important than the reality, to live with the present moment, the moment that you need to take care of your health, to take care of your well-being, instead of asking some lofty questions. Uh, Again, like you say that, yes, some master may put that kind of question to stop the process of thinking of the students, so that they could concentrate on what reality is about, what's the present moment about. All right. Okay, so let's move on then. Yeah, go ahead, Jenny. Can you read next, please?
And because, okay. And because they rejected the law and failed to believe it, they would fall into the three evil paths. It would be better if I did not preach the law, but quickly entered into nirvana. Then my thoughts turned to the Buddhas of the past and the power of expedient means they had employed. And I thought that the way I had now attained should likewise be preached as three vehicles. When I thought in this manner, the Buddhas of the 10 directions all appeared and with Brahma sounds comforted and instructed me. Well done, Shakyamuni, they said. Foremost leader and teacher, you have attained the unsurpassed law. But following the example of all other Buddhas, you will employ the power of expedient means. We too have all attained the most wonderful, the foremost law, but for the sake of living beings, we make the distinctions and preach the three vehicles. People of small wisdom delight in a small law, unable to believe that they themselves could become Buddhas. Therefore, we employ expedient means, making distinctions and preaching various goals.
Could you summarize, please?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I guess what this is trying to say, from my understanding, is I don't know, that I guess when you're trying to teach, someone about the law of the Dharma, again, I just it's as if, like, if somebody's not ready for it, it doesn't matter, how much, in what way or form, you just can't get through somebody. But I guess also, if there could be other different ways with different people, that you can use different ways with different people, and somehow people will understand. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so here, yeah, all Buddhas want us to become Buddha like them. But they recognize as not easy to teach them, as mean us, directly about that Buddhahood. So that's why they use experience mean. In this passage, they devise what they call the three vehicles that are called with the potentials, the wisdom, the abilities of each individual. So that's why somehow some people, when they study Buddhism, they thought that, oh, Buddha is psychologist, or Buddha is meditators, and so forth. So depend upon each individual who views Buddhism in certain ways, that they could view the Buddha in different way too. So that's why without this type of experience, mean it's not easy for us to understand. So that's why I get mentioned about those story, those Zen story, to illustrate that sometimes the Zen masters say something is too straightforward, that only uh, a small group of students could understand. But for the Buddha, he used experience means to teach a large group of people, depend upon their ability to understand the Dharma. Mm. So that's just the wisdom and the experience mean of all Buddhas. That's why all Buddhas praise Shakyamuni Buddha, that he used this kind of experience mean to teach sentient beings appropriately. Otherwise, again, historically, Buddhism would not um, spread around the world up to now. Now, let me, okay, before move on, let me mention one thing. You know, sometimes some Buddhists, I mean, that Vietnamese Buddhists, visit some Vietnamese Buddhist centers, they still use some means like, William, you know, the fortune stick, when you come, when you hold that bottle, right? The wooden bottle, right? And you shake, right? You shake until one stick will fall out, right? And you can read that kind of
No.
fortune letters, fortune description from that stick. Is that Buddhist way of practice, or what do you think?
I'm not familiar with that one. It sounds a little random. It doesn't seem like the Buddhist way of practice. It seems kind of similar to, say, tarot cards, where they'll draw cards and then they'll make it mean something. I think we can always make something mean something. That's pretty easy. But I don't think that's truly significant. Whatever stick falls down, I don't think it's that meaningful.
Ms. Thung Như, have you seen this kind of fortune stick when you visit some Buddhist center in Southern California?
Yes, I have. I have seen that, and it is. There's like all these sticks in a container, and people shake it, and then they pray while they're shaking it, and whichever one drops out, let's say it has a number, I don't know, 23, you go to the box that has number 23, and there's a fortune that you pull out. And people do this a lot at the beginning of, let's say, Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year. So I have seen it. I have participated in it when I was younger. It's like a cultural thing that I saw people doing when I was growing up. But yes, I have seen it.
So what do you think? Is that Buddhist way, or what is that? What do you think?
As I got older, I don't practice it anymore. I don't feel that is in accordance with how I want to proceed. But for the people who do it, I understand it's a cultural thing for them. It whether it's pure entertainment or whatever, I just decided that it was not something that is consistent with what it is that I want to pursue. But I would stop short of making a judgment for whoever that is doing it. So I just know that it is not for me at this point in time anymore, because of the things that I believe in. But yes, so I think it's more of a cultural thing. Yes.
Miss Tammy, you would not see this kind of things, right? Because in our temple, we don't do that. Right?
No, yeah, no, but it made me think, just like William said, of the card readers. That's what it looks like they do. The card readers, because you can see them on YouTube and stuff, and they just pull the cards and then put meaning with it. It sounds very similar.
Mm-hmm. How about Mr. Jenny? Have you seen this kind of practice around your area?
No, I've never seen it. I've never even heard about it. This is the first time that I'm hearing about this. But my personal opinion, I just wouldn't do that. There's just so many things that I wouldn't do. I guess I'm just not a superstitious person, or I don't believe in, doing all these rituals or this or that, or I guess, for my opinion, that's, I think it was like, I don't know, one Sunday in class with Tay, we were talking about something about superstitions, and, it's not good to be superstitious and just believe in, like what William said, you can make a meaning of anything. Like you can just come up with something and say, okay, this is the meaning of this and this. And some people, they do it just as culture, or, like when people die, that example that we heard of, when people die and they just throw money out on the streets or whatever, it's just people, it's ideas. And I think that the more you come up with ideas and things like that, it's like, in my opinion, it takes you away from the path, from where you really have to be going, from what the Buddha is trying to teach. But that's just my opinion.
How about you, John? Have you seen these kind of things, John?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, have you seen people practicing what do you call using the fortune stick to recognize their future?
The what? The what?
You don't know the fortune stick? Huh? How about you, Thang Ting? Have you seen this?
Yeah, I seen one at one temple. I see people use it. I saw my mom was doing that too.
Is that the Buddhist style?
No, I don't think it's a good way to do it. So if people do it this way, and they think that they're going to be lucky, and what if in the future they are not lucky, and they become very angry and sad. I think this is not the way to practice. Yeah.
Again, one reason why I brought up this type of practice that still happen in some Buddhist standard, not all, because when Buddhism spread to China, it adopted some local traditions like Taoism, Confucianism, and so forth, so that the local people would eventually recognize, understand Buddhism. But somehow, these kind of adaptations now become a culture way of life. So definitely, for a serious Buddhist, we would not do that. We would not count our karma based upon those type of fortune stick or description. And so again, that's why somehow without this kind of adaptations, there's no way for Buddhism to spread to different countries. But still, to learn the essence of Buddha teachings, we need to filter out those kind of cultural elements. Otherwise, it's be confusion. So that's why in our center, we would not do this kind of things because it may confuse others too. So again, in Buddhist way of life, it try to adapt the things that people feel familiar with, to recognize. It would not try to condemn anyone that's practiced in different way from Buddhism. So that's why when Buddhism spread to China, to Tibet, to Japan, and so forth, depend upon the culture of those countries, it would adapt to those tradition and culture to become what called Japanese Buddhism, become Chinese Buddhism, or now become American Buddhism. So, William, could you say some particular adaptation that Buddhists have to adapt in this modern day, especially in this country, that you can recognize of?
Wow. Wow, off the top of my head, we're so diverse, you know, that one of the differences with Buddhism coming to America versus the other regions is the other regions had such a longer history of cultural things. And in here, you know, we've got people from all over the world who have only been here for a few hundred years. It would be different if it was like the Native Americans and then Buddhism came to the Native Americans. Perhaps, I don't know if they would give up smoking the peace pipe with you know, tobacco. And so maybe there would have been some sort of accommodation with that. But here, it's hard to say. I mean, there's already so much cultural adaptation from people coming to America and becoming kind of Americanized. I don't know. Maybe people teaching would be more conscious about being engaging in a certain way because people here are so used to being entertained. And maybe more aware about not going for too long with teachings so as to not, you know, turn people off from coming and listening. But I'm not sure. That's all I got.
Okay. How about you, thầy giáo Pháp? Can you recognize? Have you recognize any kind of adaptation that our Asian Buddhist tradition have made that kind of adaptation?
You mean that the Buddhism in America?
Even in our community too.
You mean that the expectation that we want to expect the American Buddhism?
Plus, we need to make the adaptation too.
Okay, adaptation. Okay, so basically, in Buddhism we have many different school, right? School of read the sutra, school of mantra, school of consciousness, school of Zen. That means the meditation, and school of pure land school. But I think in American, they are more focused on the meditation, and also, well, mantra is also good, but not much about Pure Land. I don't think that will, because in this country, they also have their own faith, like Catholic or Christian tradition. They do also have their own faith, so they don't need any kind of faith similar to that way. But I think it's for the meditation, it's more attract to the American way. I think that worked for them best, and also well, for the school of well, the mantra also kind of like Tibetan is very popular in this country, I guess, and also some. But nowadays we can also share the consciousness. The school of consciousness is also important, one of them. So Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Since time up, I know that some of you have something to do for your daily life. So let's us start today. Sorry, stop today, and please think before we have next conversation on next Saturday, what kind of adaptation that Buddhism are working on, or for our Buddhist people are working on, try to have that adaptations in this country. Okay. All right. So, Annie, you have any more comment before we end? Mr. Thân Như, you have any more comment?
No, Thầy, I don't. Thank you.
About Mr. Tammy, you have any comment?
Well, the one that stands out to me most is English, translating it all to English.
Yeah.
Because like the Muslims won't translate. They, they want to keep their word, not to lose any meaning, and so that you have Muslims that don't even understand they don't even understand Arabic. So yeah, the one that really stands out to me is just bring it to English so people can even understand it and hear it.
Right. Kenny, you have anything before we end today?
I think that I agree with Tay. I agree with him. But from my point of view as well, I think that Buddhism in America has become a bit of they have commercialized it in a way, because you go to the stores, whether you buy a cup of coffee or you go exercise or books or whatever it may be, it's like they're trying to sell you, they're trying to sell you Buddhism by, clean your mind, or, all these little things that they come up with in these products. And in a sense, I believe that it takes you away from Buddhism. It takes you away from what Buddhism really is, and the real true meaning of it, and the real teachings, and the real thing that comes from the East. And so these companies, they're trying to make money off of it, and people that don't know, Americans that don't know about the real Buddhism, they get into this little confusion where, okay, Buddhism is about meditation, and that's how, and they think that just by meditating and okay, you have a stressful day, you go, you meditate, and that's like a self-help kind of thing, and that's it. Like, they just leave it at that. They go, it's like this whirlpool that they get themselves into, of just to make themselves feel better. But they don't really learn, they don't go deep into what really Buddhism is all about. And that's just my opinion about it.
Thank you. Yes, sorry, time is up. So let's just stop here today, and please share this kind of idea by next Saturday. Yeah, go ahead, Thân Thiên, please. Can you say Namo Shakti Buddha, please?
Namo Sakyamuni Buddha. Namo Sakyamuni Buddha. Namo Sakyamuni Buddha.
All right, thank you. Thanks for everyone. Thanks for your participation, and see you next Saturday. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Thầy, and everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.